Every time a passenger fell asleep, the designated driver would quietly get out of the car, open the trunk, and try to steal something valuable. But this time, when he lifted the lid, he was stunned to find it packed full of cash. After a moment of hesitation, he only took 4 bills. 2,000 euros. That's right, he was going to use that money to rewrite his life. After driving more than 800 kilometers, Ivan finally dropped his client at the destination early the next morning. The door was opened by a blonde, blue-eyed, middle-aged woman. She ignored Ivan completely and went straight upstairs with the man. Half an hour later, the fat guy came back down empty-handed, counted out 300 euros for Ivan, and then drove off. Ivan didn't rush to leave. He never wanted to miss any chance to make money, but barging into the house would seem rude, so he rang the doorbell. Before Laura could even ask, Ivan bluntly said, "Your employee isn't just bad at his job, he's also got sticky fingers." Laura instantly understood. She hurried upstairs to check the accounts and found that a large sum was indeed missing. When they met again, her attitude toward Ivan had completely changed. Ivan then revealed his true purpose. "I don't know exactly what kind of business you're running," he said, "but I can guarantee 2 things. First, it's definitely not legal. Second, I can do it better than that guy."
¿Quieres ganarte 10,000 euros?
Claro.
And just like that, Ivan landed the high-paying job. Insiders called them postmen. Their main role was to transport money during the mafia's laundering operations, driving across EU borders without getting caught. The rule was simple. If you got caught, you covered the losses yourself. The job was extremely lucrative, at least 10,000 euros per trip, tips not included. It all sounded easy enough, but reality was far from it. One night, while in the streets of France, Ivan was stopped by the police. The officers discovered the €1,000,000 hidden in his trunk. Ivan tried to explain that the money came from selling his house, but they weren't buying it. Thinking he was lying, they prepared to use force. But Ivan was born for this game. Knowing they had no real evidence, he calmly pulled out his phone and threatened to call the consulate, turning the whole thing into an international incident. The officers didn't want the trouble and let him go. When Ivan reported back, he was stunned to learn that those 2 police officers were actually sent by the organization. It had been a test of his composure and resourcefulness. The boss was very pleased. Ivan not only secured a long-term deal, but also got his pay doubled. From then on, Ivan was at the top of his game. Endless money, and Laura completely under his control. But as the saying goes, you walk by the river long enough, your shoes will get wet. Not long after, Laura came to him with a tricky problem. She said a local councilman had started investigating their company and told Ivan not to look back because that man was sitting right behind them. The clues were vague. All they knew was that the councilman stayed in that hotel every Friday night. The rest was up to Ivan. He knew this could be his big break and agreed without hesitation. As Ivan was thinking over his plan, the councilman suddenly appeared on the TV, and the woman beside him wasn't the same one from the hotel. Clearly, the guy had a messy private life. That was the weak spot Ivan needed. After several days of staking out the place, Ivan finally caught his target. He planned to sneak into the man's room while he went down for dinner and plant a hidden camera, but was caught red-handed by the security guard. Luckily, the guard was just as greedy as he was. Ivan handed him 10,000 euros and smoothly carried out his plan. The 2 of them sat in the car watching the live broadcast. The content was so outrageous it defied all decency. Miguel didn't bother to hide his amusement. "I don't know why you're going after that guy," he said, "but I'm sure of 2 things. First, what you're doing definitely isn't legal. And second, I might just be perfect for the job as your assistant." Ivan felt like he'd finally met a kindred spirit. Without a second thought, he took Miguel under his wing. Before long, the 2 were paying a very friendly visit to a local congressman, armed with the scandalous footage. The moment the congressman saw it, he was deeply moved by their sincerity and immediately accepted the 2 as his godsons. With such powerful backing, Ivan and Miguel soon rubbed shoulders with the political elite and solved many problems for their organization. But while business thrived, family was another matter entirely. When Ivan returned home bearing expensive gifts for his parents, his father couldn't even hide his disdain. To him, a son who never finished elementary school and suddenly got rich could only be up to no good. He warned Ivan not to walk down the wrong path, but Ivan had already tasted success and dismissed his father's words. The old man, unwilling to escalate the argument, simply muttered, "One day, you'll regret this," before retreating to his room. Ivan didn't yet understand the weight of his father's words, but soon he would. To win over a mob boss's daughter, Ivan first grew the kind of seductive beard she loved, then gifted her an Arabian stallion, flew her around the world on private jets, and publicly dumped his girlfriend, finishing it off by proposing with a 10-carat diamond ring. It was a flawless performance, enough to charm anyone, even a crime lord. But her father, Jose, was far from naive. Since both his operation and Ivan's belonged to rival money laundering networks that had clashed for years, he couldn't help suspecting that Ivan's romance had ulterior motives. To protect his daughter and his empire, Jose ordered his men to beat Ivan half to death. Yet Ivan resilient as ever, didn't retaliate. Instead, he sought Jose out to talk, claiming he had cut ties with his old organization and truly loved Jose's daughter. If given a chance, he could even help destroy his former employers from within. Ivan's reputation in the laundering world preceded him, so Jose couldn't refuse. But from the moment he agreed, he had already stepped into Ivan's trap. Everything, the romance, the betrayal, the proposal, had been part of Ivan and Laura's plan to eliminate Jose and monopolize the territory. By gaining the mob's trust and turning over the incriminating ledger to the police, Ivan ensured Jose's downfall. Yet victory came at a cost. His network lost many clients in the chaos. Desperate to recover, Ivan sought new partnerships with local drug lords. Though each already had their own laundering systems, Ivan's offer was too irresistible to decline. For a time, things seemed calm again. Ivan had built his empire and secured his place, until one night when tragedy struck. The woman's husband embezzled all 800 million euros from their accounts and transferred it overseas. Before leaving, he even handed the police a list of the organization's key members. When Ivan heard the news, his scalp tingled. Almost all of that 800 million belonged to clients. Now he had no choice but to run. After all, those lunatics were the kind who would kill for money without hesitation. As soon as the two set off, the police had them in their sights. Luckily, at a fork in the road, a private car collided with a police vehicle, giving Ivan a chance to escape. But before he could celebrate, a more dangerous group blocked the road ahead. Yes, they were drug dealers. Seeing them, Ivan dared not resist. These people weren't cops. Shooting someone on the street was just another day for them. In the end, Ivan and Laura were forced into a car and taken to a dimly lit warehouse. Their fate seemed certain. The drug lord wanted the money, which Ivan didn't have, and he wanted their lives. But Ivan calmly offered an alternative solution, exactly what the drug lord wanted to hear. Given the current situation, all the local gangs were within police reach. Even the drug lord wanted to escape, but he held 1,500 million euros, money that couldn't be deposited in a bank or carried out in cash. Ivan had noticed this. As a money laundering expert, he promised to safely transport the 1,500 million to Singapore for a 10% fee. The drug lord had no better option and had to rely on Ivan. Ivan's method was simple: pack both the people and the money into a shipping container and send it abroad by sea. He had long bribed customs officials. Though rarely used, their annual dividends were always paid in full, precisely for emergencies like this. Seizing the opportunity, Ivan and Laura snuck into Singapore. Just as Ivan was planning his comeback, Laura betrayed him. She traded him for her freedom. Ivan was ultimately sentenced to life in prison for money laundering. When reporters asked if he had regrets, Ivan replied there were two things he regretted most. First, not listening to his father, who had warned him never to break the law. Second, not listening to Laura, who had told him never to trust anyone.